The F4U Corsair, originally designed as a aircraft carrier landing fighter aircraft. Unfortunately, the Corsair had a real nasty tendency to bounce when it landed, and the Navy didn't deem it appropriate for and did not approve it for aircraft carrier flight. They handed it over to the Marines. Well, the Marines were very excited about getting the Corsair, as when it was produced and manufactured, it was the very first fighter aircraft able to exceed over 400 miles an hour in level flight. Throttle coming forward. Chris Avery and the FG-1D Corsair. Throttle coming forward on the first of our three T51D Mustangs. But so many nations all around the world. Stan Music got the controls of this beautiful P-51. A bomber shot down by another enemy fighter under their escort during World War II. Watch now as they come in from your left. Get your cameras ready. Chris Avery leading the way in the FG-1D Corsair. Listen to this. The first aircraft that used the R-2800 engine. It's got a 14-foot diameter propeller. Here comes our first. The P-51 was originally put together a fighter that would help support the Brits, because America did not officially enter the war until December of 1941, as our second P-51 comes in from your left. And not far behind Stan Music. A few moments. Avery already coming back around in the FG-1D Corsair, not the famous aircraft. They were designated the FGs, the FG-1D, built by Goodyear. Considered by many to be one of the best fighter aircraft in World War II, and comes screaming across the runway. Again, taking us back 70 years ago, these aircraft were legendary for escorting the bombers to the target. As a matter of fact, Hermann Goering, who was the commander of the Luftwaffe, said that when he looked up over Berlin and saw P-51s flying over the city, he knew the war was lost. P-51s could be equipped with external fuel tanks, which allowed them to escort the bombers all the way to the target. Carrying 6 50-caliber machine guns. What a beautiful sight, the distinctive gull wing design of this legendary fighter, the FG-1D Corsair. The P-51D Mustang, the most numerous produced of the P-51 line, originally designed with the idea of mounting a Merlin engine onto the front of the aircraft, and it became the legendary plane that you see here today. All of a sudden, P-51s would come raining down, fire from above, as the unsuspecting Germans had no idea they were coming. Catching the Luftwaffe on the ground was a lot easier than trying to shoot them in the sky. As we get a beautiful photo pass from your left to right, Stan Music, and the P-51D Mustang. Chris Avery getting ready to come back down around. And of course, work was done to eliminate the bouncing tendency of the Corsair. And eventually the United States Navy gave it the go-ahead to serve on-board aircraft carriers in the South Pacific. The Corsair had an impressive kill ratio during the war of 11-to-1. That's 11 enemy aircraft destroyed for every one Corsair. The aircraft would be pressed into service even after World War II. When the Korean War broke out in 1950, Corsairs would once again be flown into combat, as well as the P-51D Mustangs. The Corsair had one of the longest production histories of any propeller-driven aircraft, actually being built for a 12-year span of time. The amazing thing about World War II is we literally went from biplanes to jets in a little over 5 years of combat. You'll notice the distinctive black and white stripes painted on the wings and fuselage of the P-51s. In Europe, during the Normandy invasion, to make it easier for ground personnel and, of course, the ships in the channel recognize Allied aircraft, black and white stripes were painted on the wings and fuselage of the Allied aircraft to make them easily identifiable. As from a distance, sometimes the Messerschmitt 109 and the P-51 could easily be mistaken for each other. So the black and white stripes, again, making it real clear that that was an Allied aircraft. Matter of fact, even after the Normandy invasion in June of 1944, the black and white stripes continued to be on the Allied aircraft again. You got to realize there'd be thousands of these planes in the air at one time. It's amazing to think that back in the late 1950s, early 60s, you could purchase one of these aircraft for $1,500 or less, depending on the condition of the aircraft. To replace these aircraft you're seeing out here today would cost you well over $2 million to replace them. A big wave as they taxi by your area. Again, they can't hear your applause, but they can see you waving. Chris Avery leading the way in the Corsair. Again, you can see the distinctive gull wing design of this aircraft. The gull wing design was put on this plane to keep it from having extremely long landing gear because of that extremely huge prop that's on the front end, that again 14 feet of diameter. Corsair carrying 650 caliber machine guns into combat. As a matter of fact, the Corsair could carry a bigger ordnance payload than a B-17 bomber, and was one of the most effective ground attack aircraft, and in actuality, one of the very first ground attack aircraft.